Fun Pocket. Alrighty, welcome to season 2, episode 9 of the Bodhi Bros. I am John with a J,
And
Maniac,
I am Bhakti Ray. And what we got
Lyrical,
today?
Jesse James, front to back, and this thing called Rap, Maniac, Brainiac. This is the game. I'm the Lyrical Jesse James. I got the power. Or do I? I don't know, but this week's episode is about Ray. Take it away.
Taking back your personal power.
Taking it
So
back.
take it back.
I want it back. I'm reclaiming.
Quit being a doormat. Quit being stepped on.
This is exciting for me, Ray, because every week you pick the title, you pick the topic. Well, I mean, we collaborate on the title. You pick the topic, um, and it always, as we've shared offline and online a few times, it's very in sync with what's happening in our lives. So, and if it's not when we introduce the topic, it quickly is thereafter, or during the week leading up. And so, for me personally, I this isn't a topic. This is a topic that maybe one time I feel like I could speak really well on, and how I took back the power in my life, and I hope as this broadcast goes on today, and you illuminate all of us with what you've reflected upon in meditation and otherwise, that I can grab some stories of instances in the past where I've been able to personally do that. Because right now, presently, Ray, I'm very excited about the subject because I'm in a position where I feel very just powerless, been very depressed, very despair, dark, just stagnation. And like when you suggested a topic, I was like, okay, let's talk about that. And then it turned into, yeah, you know what, let's talk about that. So Ray, take it away. Let's talk about reclaiming your power, because I personally need to desperately yearn to do that
Right.
myself.
Well, I think it's normal for a lot of us to be feeling this way right now with everything going on. And a lot of people are experiencing isolation, with quarantine and maybe not be able to, see their families, their friends, and their loved ones, and wearing masks. And I think a lot of people are feeling a loss of connection right now, on top of already having these feelings of, powerlessness that they may already have had prior. So I think that's what really a lot of it comes down to is, realizing or wondering why you gave your power up to begin with. Tracing that back is why. And I think sometimes what happens is you get a point in your life where you may feel drained, you may feel depressed, you might not think much of yourself, and you're thinking like, maybe you have, repetitive cycles in relationships where it's just not working out, and you can't figure, that you come to realize like, I need to take my power back. Maybe you don't realize, maybe you don't think you have any power, and that could be a problem too, and which you do. Everybody does. Everybody has their personal powers. Your energy is what you're putting your attention in. So the big thing is just to, come back and ask yourself, well, what made me give my power away to begin with? And usually that's, something from our childhood. It could be a relationship with a parent, childhood trauma. Maybe your needs weren't validated, or maybe you did get that acceptance. Um, maybe your parents, you had to be a certain way. You had to suppress your own needs for that of your, your caretaker, or your, like that. So you got that validation, that approval by assuming some sort of role as a caretaker, maybe in the family or whatever else. What do you think would be some examples of why in a family?
What do I think would be some?
Yeah, what do you think would be some like traumas or some like some examples of like childhood trauma that would make you
This
grow
is
up that way?
this is a very good question. Can we make this question number 2, because I have one that may help us explore this question that you've proposed a little more deeply. And that
Okay.
is, can we at the very basic level break down what personal power is, what it means to you today in this conversation? Like, what have I given up? What is this power that you speak of? What does that mean? If you're explaining it to like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, like, because that's how I feel right now.
I would just say basically it's your energy. It's your focus, it's your energy. That your energy could be physical, could be mental. Um, if you're always being, your attention's always drawn there. A lot of it goes by, I think, by how you feel, your feelings, which I was going to get into like later on, and just how you feel. Do you feel drained around certain people, certain situations? Um,
So is it also like, my ability to create
oh
the
yeah,
light?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so it's
definitely.
it's
Your
it's
power to
that,
create, strength. It's
to be my ability to connect, my ability to um, um, love myself and be loved. So it's all those things. It's energy and all of those manifestations. Then
right. That's good.
that's how you would define personal power. And if one's feeling like maybe I am presently, which is powerless, or in a state of despair, depression, just stagnation, stuckness, whatever, I've apparently I've given up my power either to somewhere or someone, or I've suppressed it. I haven't necessarily given it to someone, but I've because you said it's always in you, so I've found a way to either channel my power in a way where it's draining me and not, in, enriching, or in lifting my life up in enjoyable ways or beneficial ways, and or I've found a way to really just shut it off, like within me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So your question then is, in what ways, like in a childhood traumatic environment, may have this initially manifested?
Yeah, like what do you think would be some examples of like what would?
Oh, I think things like, your parents saying things like, maybe like money doesn't grow on trees. Like, maybe, I think the dream dashing, ridiculing words of emotional abuse are really tough. Like,
Yeah,
don't you know the odds of becoming, a successful actor or a baseball player? And you should have a plan to be more responsible and do something more, what's the word? More,
practical.
yes, that's the more practical. Um, and yeah, those diminishing, um, I call them life sentences. Because those can be very defeating and very, very heavy of a burden to carry around with you as a child, and then into adulthood. And you're like, you know what? That's bullshit. I can't take this anvil of this trauma, and you lift it off your shoulders and you throw it aside, and you're like, I can be an actor. But those are just words, because you still carry with you that entire lifetime. We'll call it, like, you're 25 years old and you're like, you know what? You mom, you dad, I'm going to become an actor. This rat race life, this corporate life that you like made me believe that I needed to have, is not working for me. I'm going to chase my dream. But I don't know if it's that easy to just say, I'm going to do it. Because I think I think you have to address genuinely, deeply, um, and over a period of time, that wound before it just heals. I don't think it's an overnight quick fix type of thing. But that's my short answer to your question. I think there's probably many, many, many other
Oh
um,
yeah, for sure, definitely.
instances where, do any pop into mind for you, whether they're personal or just generally speaking, where a parent can take away a child's power?
Yeah, and then growing up, you may feel powerless to go after something that you want to pursue in terms of a career or any kind of goal. And even in, I think, even definitely in relationships, someone who's lacking that personal power in relationships. A lot of times you get what's called like the nice guy syndrome, and you end up being the nice guy, and you end up, trying to do all this stuff to please a partner because you're wanting that validation that you didn't get. And that's how it kind of carries over. So you're always giving, and you think somehow in your mind, you think, I'm giving this, I'm gonna get back. And it usually doesn't work that way in a relationship because it's not really authentic. It's not very genuine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being, that's a good thing to be nice and give gifts and give compliments. And I'm not saying don't do that, but you're doing it not because you're doing it because you want something back that you can't get. And then you end up being this nice guy, being kind of, but it's not, a woman doesn't really like that. A woman doesn't really appreciate that. You may come off as weak. You may come off as beta, and it's not a turn on when a guy's like that. You need some sort of like, you need like a healthy conflict. You need sort of like this healthy sort of conflict, I think, in a relationship for it to work. And a lot of times, someone who doesn't have that power, that's that powerlessness, doesn't is afraid of conflict, is afraid to say like no, or afraid to maybe like take charge and be like, you know what, I think we should do this tonight instead. Somebody who is a powerlessness is always gonna like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to do this, or whatever you want to do is fine with me. You
Right.
make it kind of in that in a relationship,
Right.
and eventually, you're gonna get taken advantage of. And usually, somebody in a situation, you're that much power, lack of power. I believe eventually you'll stumble upon someone who's a narcissist, and that's what you'll attract. Because somebody, you're so easy giving away your power, someone's gonna see that and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna keep, you know, I'm gonna keep, drinking from this well till it goes dry.
Mm.
And a lot of times that could be the spark or whatever, the insight to give you the insight that, hey, something needs to change. This
And
person's
is
just taking advantage of me.
isn't as far as what we are becoming to understand of the law of attraction and mirroring, wouldn't that narcissist be a severely suppressed aspect of ourselves?
Oh yeah.
Right. And so that's why because we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not filling ourselves up, we're totally just giving for whatever reason. So then we attract that narcissist that says, like, that we've denied inside of us, and it pops up at your front door like, hey, I'll take everything you've got to give. You're like, why am I attracting this type of person in my life?
It's almost like the opposite side of the coin. You're like want to give and give in order to get something, and they're like take.
Right.
Because it's like it's feeding them, and you're hoping that giving is gonna like lead to receiving,
Mm.
and they're taking, thinking like, okay, well, I don't need to give. Why would I give? Because I don't need to do anything. This person's just handing maybe whatever I want.
Mm. Very interesting path to explore there. I was also just thinking that parents take away kids' power severely when it comes to making choices, um, in general terms, just allowing kids to make decisions, giving kids options, specifically when it comes to food. And if a certain food or a food group or whatever is repulsed by the child, maybe they know something you don't know. you know Maybe it hits their
A personal,
very, you know um,
yeah,
child, their what's the word I'm looking for, innocent lips and their taste buds, that instantly identify whatever you're trying to put in them as, no, this isn't good for me. Like, no, no,
for
no,
me
no,
that
no.
was McDonald's hamburgers.
Really?
So I didn't like meat really much at all growing up, except like chicken, maybe turkey.
Yeah.
And so whenever we go out to eat with my parents, this is a trauma thing that I had to heal. And when we go out to eat,
Wow.
I had to get like stuff that was. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll freeze from time to time, but we could always
So
hear you.
so anyways, my parents didn't like always having to get me the chicken option or something like that in McDonald's because it was more expensive.
Oh,
So
wow.
their idea was like to get me. My dad would try to get me to like hamburgers.
Oh,
He kept buying me hamburger, but even then, I think if you gave me a cheeseburger with like ketchup, like that, I may have liked it because I like cheese. I like burgers now, but I don't like. But he would give me a plain burger, And I would just sit there in tears, and I would like try to like just eat this, and I would just take bites of it, and it'd be cold, and it would just be like just a plain burger on there, and I'd just be like just miserable, and it'd just be. And he would do this about like once a month, once every couple months, and just he tried this and just tried to get me like hamburgers, and it was just like, like, dude, like,
It's like, Ray, these are 49 cents, Ray. You need to like the fucking hamburgers.
Yeah, exactly. And it was
Which
just,
I have a very interestingly similar, but very different in the same breath, meat experience. Now, you love burgers now.
wow, love is a strong word, but
You like a good burger.
yeah, I like a good burger.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's not like, just to be clear, like, as we're sharing this, you weren't pushing that away in that moment because you had this childhood need to be vegan or something like that. Like, you were like, meat is bad, but it was the McDonald's meat specifically that
I
you
don't
just,
I don't eat McDonald's burgers at all, but like, like a nice restaurant, they have like a burger, like
right.
like a bar, like bar burgers, kind of like that,
And I think there's a big difference there too, man. Because for me, like, I didn't become vegan because of some deep spiritual or animal compassionate reason. Mine was a health reason, right? And as I became more and more sensitive to foods, I still have suspicions that it wasn't necessarily meat in general that was hurting me. It was the types of meat from the places that I got certain meats, what was injected into the meats, how were these particular chickens raised on steroids, antibiotics, or whatever. So what unnatural thing was forced upon this source of nourishment for me that when attempted to be translated in my body was like, does not calculate, gout, inflammation, whatever. So can I say if I were to eat, meat from a very organic, sustainable source of some kind, whether it's fish, chicken, beef, whatever, would I have a physical effects anymore? I don't necessarily know if that's the case, man. I really, maybe it wouldn't be as severe, maybe not at all. I'm really not willing nor have the
maybe
desire
hard on
to.
your digestive system, not eating meat and going eating that. I don't know. It might be like
What?
a shock initially.
What's that?
I'm saying it might be a shock to your digestive system, though.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too, because it's been so long. If I did try something, I may have initial effects of like, okay, I can't eat this, but that could just be my body readjusting. Absolutely. But I'm not really called to walk back down that path, at least now. And I'm doing just fine after
Yeah.
being on the vegan thing for a few years. But yeah, to your childhood thing, I now my I have a nightmare fucking situation where I'm sitting at a table and my parents had bought filet mignon and we were very poor family. And so like this was a special thing or whatever. But Ray, as a kid, man, when it came to meat and like, just if I saw any little trace of fats, any little thread, it would just fuck me up, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. My whole body would just shut down. Like, I can't put it in my mouth, can't put it in my mouth. And I'm sitting at this table gagging, and they're like, I mean, like, they're coming at me like, it's fucking filet mignon. Do you know how expensive this is? And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I put it in your mouth, like yelling like an insane football coach, like,
Right.
beat that fucking steak into the ground and stuff it in your mouth. Like, this is what was happening at my dining room table, right? And so I'm putting it in my mouth and I'm throwing, and now I'm being told you can't leave the table until you finish this steak. Do you know how hard we had to work to put this steak on the table? I was like, what are you talking about taking your power? Like, I can't. I'm going to throw. I'm like, my body doesn't want it. I can't do it. I'm sure you spent a lot of money on this really crappy piece of filet mignon, by the way. It wasn't. Now what I know about filet mignon versus then, there shouldn't have been any fat in the freaking filet mignon that I could have discerned from the naked eye, right?
Right.
So anywho, yeah, talk about Yeah, I'm sure other kids have had similar nightmare experiences with their parents yelling at them.
Yeah, I think that's a sort of a common thing growing up, or at least we've always got made to eat something that we didn't want to eat. And
Yeah, yeah, and that I think that takes your power. I think in that instance, you know, when that happens nowadays with a child, maybe we can meet them with some questions, like versus accusations and pressures. Like, why are you struggling with this? Like why is this making you so sad, and why don't you want to eat it? And I
yeah,
mean, it's
some
food.
compassion.
Yeah, it's food, man. And if we're gonna scar kids around food and stuff and pressure kids around food, that's gonna stumble into a really unhealthy, unempowering adulthood where we have very unhealthy habits and relationships with food. I can personally tell you from the roller coaster of up and down, weight loss and gain, and blah, blah, blah. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
we hit
let's
a
talk.
little bit of a tangent there, but I think it was
Yeah.
important to
So
explore.
let's talk about some things that we could do to reclaim our power.
Yes, I want to take my power back, Ray.
So I think one thing
Not
is
eating
like I
steak.
kind of said before, is being mindful of how you feel around people, certain places. Family members, friends. Do you feel drained? When you're with someplace, or you're with a friend. Um, because sometimes it's normal that way for a family like that. How do you feel, or going to a certain place? Just be very mindful.
Oh my gosh, we lost Ray's audio. We lost your audio. Check, 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 Mike. We lost Ray. I think Ray was saying we need to be very mindful when we're out with friends and family, and just kind of biding time here until Ray
All
pops
right.
back on. There he is. Okay, so we're out and about with friends and/or family,
Yeah,
being
you may have
mindful.
that friend who's always like everything has to be on their term, where we go out, what time we get together. You drive, I'm not gonna drive, type of thing, and so just being mindful of who you're with and who you're hanging around, and the places and people that take away your energy. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Oh, I didn't know if you had anything to add to it too. There's just a healthy little pause there. So what you're saying is if you don't want to be somewhere, don't be somewhere.
Yeah, just be mindful of how you feel around certain people, because sometimes you may not even be aware of that. Like, you may just be come home and just be like, man, I'm just like drained, and it was because you were on the phone. You feel like you have an obligation towards that person to be there for them, or to listen to them, and it's just draining you. It's just taking that away. Or this person has certain things from you. Hey, can you come over? They know you're coming over, and it's, hey, can you bring something to eat for us, or can you bring something to drink, or you go over their place, and it's like,
Right.
hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me move this, or can you help me fix this? Or it's always just, there's always kind of a strings
Right.
attached, and it's,
Why? So being mindful of the relationship, maybe asking the question, why do I want to go hang out with this person?
right.
Why do I really want to? Because I don't. So what is the reason why I feel compelled, pressured, whatever, to show up for this person? Do I feel like I'm being a good guy, and I'm doing my community service of the day to show up for this person, or like you know what is the real reason why I'm saying yes to something that I really strongly feel a no toward?
Yeah, and that's kind of hard too. Is people who are people pleasers, people who have feel lack of power. Start saying no. Learn to say no.
Right.
Do what's right for you. And it comes back to loving yourself. Sometimes you have to put yourself first, which is hard for some people to do, because sometimes we're raised, or some of us who are spiritual, we're told that you need to put other people first, and it's love other people, and that's kind of looked upon as a positive characteristic, to put other people first. And not so much, not so much. So learning to say no. When you say no to others, or you're saying no to this, you're saying yes to yourself.
And I would take it a step further too. Most people won't do this because this is very uncomfortable. And I've certainly haven't um, been the pillar example of this in my relationships, but I yearn to reach this level of authenticity, if you will, and that's telling people because I have experienced it from the other side. I've had someone show up and say like, "Hey, like this is what I need from you, or this is not what I'm getting from you," and like and so my challenge to all of you out there is when you do say no to someone, don't make up some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say, oh, but and start ghosting people or anything like that, but give them the real reason. And
Yeah.
that what that wonderful gift of truth does, albeit it may hurt at first, but you know what they say about the truth. Um, but it will set you free if you allow it. So you're not hurting that person. You're not being a dick about it, but you're genuinely sharing with them why it's a no for you. And maybe you're like, listen, in this friendship, I feel that I'm not getting this from you, right? Or you're giving me this and I can't handle that for this reason or these reasons, whether it's physical, personal, or whatever it may be. And there's a myriad of branches that this can take in this specific conversation. But the challenge it would be to, I think, as you're reclaiming your power, is you're not only saying no, but you're giving that person the opportunity to grow with you as a friend. And
Right.
again, you're not being a dick. You're not saying, look, man, I don't want to hang out with you because you're a greedy bastard, or like you're
You're not being vindictive about it. You're not being.
right. You're finding what, as you said, your challenge was to be mindful. And as you mindfully become aware of why do I not want to allow this person to suck this energy from me or go to a place or a gathering where I feel it, blah, blah. You're sharing with this group of friends or the specific family member or person why it doesn't work for you. So you're giving them this really beautiful gift of authenticity. And you're saying, like, I could show up and be fake, but we're going to keep going through this cycle and you're not going to have a real friend by your side. You're not going to have someone that's showing up that's feeling good about being with you. I'm putting on a fucking show, man. So like, you know what I mean? I think it's
Yeah.
not just empowering for you, but it can be maybe again
Down the line.
painfully or eventually empowering for your friend, family member, or group of people. So because you have shared that expression of who you really are, what you really need. And we don't do that enough as humans. I feel
Right.
like if we do that more and more, man, our relationships are going to blossom. They're going to blow up because people are going to be hurt and stuff and not understand where this crazy John's coming from. All of a sudden, he has feelings and he doesn't think what I'm doing or how I'm showing up is good enough for him. That's not it. That's just saying, like, at this point in my life, this is what I need. I'm not getting this from you. I would really love if you have the space and the desire to provide this, then let's dance. If not, we can say we've had a nice run together and find other people and places to plug into, right?
Yeah. I think sometimes we're afraid of like losing people in our lives, and we're afraid of being authentic and speak out because we're like, well, what if that person doesn't want to, see me anymore, or what if that person, I've been friends with that person for years, and I don't want to like lose that friendship or whatever it is. But do you really want to be in a friendship or any kind of relationship, right, where you can't be yourself in? You know.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing probably too is, I think that phrase, I don't want to hurt their feelings comes up.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt their feelings. They're a really sweet person. And this doesn't say that these people that you're saying no to are just horrible people or just like that's not the case at all. It could be the simplest of simple things that just it's not matching up with what you need in your life and what you want to spend your time in an empowering way.
Yeah. So it's like when you like that power, it's almost you're afraid to be the bad guy in a way. And it's not really being like you said, it's not really being a bad guy. You're not telling them that stuff to hurt them or be cruel. You just have to say it because it's that's how you feel. And like how you said, a good point. it could lead to their growth down the line, because maybe it's something that they're not seeing in themselves. Maybe they are being controlling or whatever, and now you're pointing it out to them, and maybe they weren't really all that aware to it, and now they have something that they can work on themselves. So if you look at it that way, they may help somebody from, that you're really helping them by telling them the truth. That could really help somebody who's stuck being in that nice guy role, and who's afraid to speak up because he said, like, I might hurt their feelings or hurt them. You're really helping them. You're not being the bad guy. You're actually being what they need.
Right. I mean, one of my greatest teachers, Ray, has been my daughter, and she'll flat out tell me. And I'm sure in some instances it's been difficult for her. In fact, she's told me it's been difficult. Like, I didn't want to tell you, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. But, and then the but is, like, I haven't wanted to, like, hang out with you lately, or I haven't really been answering your texts because it makes me very anxious when you talk about these things, or when you suggest that, maybe I should start experimenting with these certain practices or whatever when it comes to, like, clean living or healthy eating and stuff like that. And so the things that I learned that were helping save my life, I wanted to share with her. But she wasn't in a place or space to be open to receiving that. In fact, all it did was make more stress in her life and hurt her even more deeply, physically and emotionally. This material that I was passionately wanting to hang out with her and like, man, like, I'm going to help save my daughter's life before she has to go through the hell I did, right?
Right.
Well, she had the courage to tell me, like, Dad, I don't need you to show up for me in that way. In fact, when you do, it doesn't make me want to hang out with you. It drains my energy. It takes away my power. So did it hurt? Yes, of course you want your baby girl to, like, she was always daddy's girl, unless she doesn't want to even, like, hang out with me. But it was empowering because it made me self-reflect, made me like, okay, she's sharing with me what she needs from me, what she wants. And that's an authentic expression of the need of a daughter from a father. Like, I can't ask for, like, how can I be upset? Like, that's a beautiful gift. She's telling me how I could be closer to her. Now, do I want to show up and go, oh, you're crazy and this and that, you should blah, 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 blah. That would just push her even more away. So I have to sit back and go, take a breath, Ray, and say, of course I want to be closer to my daughter. So I need to really spend some time thinking, why am I like this with her? My God, I'm probably like this with other people. Like, oh shit, this is a huge opportunity to grow here. And so that I can connect more deeply, not just with her, but myself and in turn other people.
Yeah. So she gave you a gift, really.
Yeah. And this is what I'm talking about, folks.
Yeah.
It's not always going to happen daddy to daughter, son to mother, cousin to uncle, whatever, but it's every relationship, and it's difficult and it takes courage. But if you can take the breath and share it, and at the same time be the one to take the breath and accept it, it's transformative.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to that whole thing, like, everybody could be a teacher. Everybody is a teacher, and like that, your daughter was the one teaching you that lesson.
Yeah, it's funny. My partner says when we got the cats, she would say things like, "Are these cat? We got they're a pair of sisters." She's like, "Are they going to be your greatest teachers?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the cats are going to be my greatest teachers, right?" Those two have taught me so much because she kept saying it. Like when they would do something silly, or they would look at us in a certain way or something, or we'd have a conversation because of them. And I'm like, are these two cats becoming my greatest teachers? Like, they don't even say anything. But yeah, man, if you're open to it,
Right.
the universe speaks to you in many magical and delightful ways, man. And yeah, I thank her for turning the key in that lock to that very much. Not that I never learned anything from animals or the presence of animal signs gifted from the universe via the means of animals, but two domesticated cats in your house, what are they going to teach me? How to better clean the litter box? What cat food they really like? Oh, there's some profound wisdom there if you're open to it. Just saying, folks. But let's talk about empowering ourselves, right? Because I still don't feel empowered.
Other thing I wrote down is Be aware of what you watch and what you listen to. TV, music. You know, are you listening to music that's negative, that's about hate? And are you watching TV shows that are, I mean, there's nothing wrong with watching, you know, I guess a violent movie here and there. But I mean, are you watching it? Are you repetitively watching things that are just draining? I mean, so for some people, that could be the news, you know, depressing, listening to depressing music. It's just something to be mindful of.
Yeah.
Maybe a change.
Teal Swan says something really cool about that. She brought up the thought, and I'll always carry this with me, although I don't always practice it, but it's a very gentle and healthy reminder that I will share via her. Um, and that is whatever we watch, whatever we click as far as like, um, and and energetically spend any amount of time turning on, right, or tuning into, is a vote for the type of world and life we want to create.
Right. So this could be like on Facebook. It could be, you know, whatever it is. It's if you're just always getting watching all this stuff that's conflict and just getting caught up in this stuff and getting, you know, in these arguments. It's is it really helping
Right.
you?
And do you want more of that in your life? Do you want more like, you know, scary movie stuff? And, you know, I'm not condemning this, you know, horror movies and stuff like that.
Right.
People love what you love. But, you know, I think when you're talking about energy and empowerment, what, yeah, it's very, I think things like that, if you like a certain genre or something, maybe in small doses is fine, because you take you
It's
are getting a certain energy of enjoyment from it for whatever reason you like that particular. Like I said, not condemning horror movies or anything, but like, but to put too much into it or too often, then what does that translate to? So that makes sense what you're saying.
yeah, it's kind of like what are you really attracted to in that? Let's say if you're watching a horror movies and you're always in the horror movies, you may just like horror movies, and I think like this one kind of just kind of goes along with everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're always depressed and you feel that you're lacking personal power and you're always watching, you know, horror movies, slasher movies, or violent movies, and you're always engaged in like conflict and arguments online,
Right.
you know, this kind of just kind of goes to something just to be aware of and be like, okay, what's important? You know, is your peace, how important is peace to you? And,
Mm.
you know, maybe making some changes and trying to maybe listen to something that's more uplifting, or maybe staying away from your cell phone on Twitter or
Right.
Facebook. And
So look, if you have a balance in your life where you're playing shoot 'em up video games and watching horror movies and going into the chat rooms to talk about the political mud pool of our society, and you're enjoying your life and you feel empowered, by all means, keep on doing it. But what we're talking about today is if you're doing those things and you're not happy with the results of your life and you feel disempowered, then
yeah,
it's time to address those individual things
right.
and be very mindful when you're showing up for those experiences as to why I'm here, how much time I'm putting in here, how does it really make me feel, and what is the magnetic pull for this particular experience in me, uh, in a perpetual nature. Like, why do I keep showing up to this chat room to talk about this sludge? Why do I keep logging into this video game to machine gun shoot up the world? If you're going through a period of time, maybe much like I am, where you feel disempowered, Ray, help me get empowered.
All right. So another thing to
No pressure.
say is to watch your words.
Watch your words.
Watch your words. You know, like a lot of times what I used to do is I used to say when I didn't love myself, I would use a lot of self depreciating humor about myself. I put myself
Mm.
down. And it'd be funny. I would get a reaction, people laugh. And I still do every once in a while, but I noticed that I don't do that anymore. And I noticed like if I look at things like there are
No, 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 no. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Come on, technology. Guys, I'll take this opportunity, ladies, gentlemen, folks from all around the world. If you'd like to support the Bodhi Bros and help us get better technology so we don't have these periods of raise back, please Make your donations. Find ways to message us. We could PayPal, we can Venmo. I think through Anchor, you can make donations. We need support to help get better technology. Ray, welcome back. What were you saying?
Yeah. I was just saying, watch your words. Like I used to look at a lot of
Yes.
like, even like I would look at like used to look at like memes and stuff like that were like negative. Like there's a lot now about like 2020 is a crap year and stuff like that. Or and like I noticed like a lot of times the stuff like that, I would turn now I don't even click on that kind of stuff. I don't even want to look at. I don't even want to read that now. But even though going back to your own words and how you express yourself, are you expressing yourself as a victim to people? Are you putting yourself down? Um, are you talking to people as if they're on a pedestal? Because when you put people on pedestals, you're putting yourself down.
So what if you
You know.
find, let's take a specific example. Maybe you can help me through this. So what if you find yourself just frequently, relentlessly, when you're getting ready for your shower or whatever, and you walk by the mirror and you say, "Oh my God, so fat. I am so fat. Like, fuck, I hate this. I'm
Yeah.
fat. I feel like," and sometimes my partner will hear me and she'll say, like, "Oh, don't talk about yourself that way." Like, and I'm like, "But I'm fat." And I hate it. Like, that's my truth. My truth is I'm fat and I hate it. But that's disempowering, and that's not really watching my words, is it, Ray?
No.
What
You
can
could.
I what can I
You could
do when
tell.
that real emotion comes up for me though? And I pass by the mirror tonight when I go take my shower, and I'm about to say and feel, God, I'm fat. What do I meet that moment with?
Compassion, love, and you say that like, yeah, you know what? Maybe you acknowledge that feeling. You don't resist it. You acknowledge it. Man, maybe you say, you know what? I'm not where I want to be right now. But you know what though? I'll get there. Meet it with positivity. Meet it with love. Don't reject, don't resist that feeling that you felt, but meet it with compassion.
Hmm. Maybe a healthy way to meet it with compassion is asking it questions like, why do you feel that you're fat, and what's wrong with being the way you are? um, why do you want to look differently? What are the reasons why you're unhappy with what you presently see in the mirror? um, or specifically talk to my belly, who's been named Billy, by the way. It's Billy the
Really.
couldn't think of a better name. Well, that was a step for me to actually connect with
Yeah.
my stomach and make it
Personify it.
right, like the monster. Remember, our
Right.
conversation earlier. um, and um, and make it so it wasn't a bad thing, but like a part of me. Billy's a part of me, Ray. But how do I empower? I've been feeling powerless, disempowered to make Billy smaller. I want the smaller version of Billy. Um, but I haven't been able to find ways to like step into that, to take that power back and go, I want that healthy body again. I'm going to have that healthy body. So
You ever ask Billy what he wants?
Billy wants pasta and bread, bro. Because that's comforting. And that's that. Yeah. So I have had that dialogue with Billy, and he wants those foods to just to make everything feel better because things don't feel so good. And he also wants to create some space in between him and other people. So I think Billy's like, I'm protecting you. Don't you understand? Billy's like, I'm here as a barrier between you and people that you think will hurt you or whatever. So I put on weight as mostly, the emotional eating is not my biggest challenge because I don't feel like I overeat. In fact, when I was at my lightest weight, maybe 5-6 years ago, um, and I mean even like lighter than high school, like I was looking pretty slim and trim, dog, but and feeling fantastic. I was eating as much food as I'm eating now. So,
Yeah.
and where the food's a little different, sure, but one would say I'm even eating healthier now.
Yeah, I
But
understand that. I've been
but
there.
emotionally though, I've allowed myself 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it was very much bulldozy, bypassy, whereas now I'm very much more so aware and authentic. So my emotions are controlling the physical feature a lot more than it was 5 to 6 years ago. It's saying like, hey man, we're scared of this, so we need to build a barrier. Hey man, we're not feeling well, so we need this particular food to help us feel better. Whereas 5 6 years ago it was just like turn and burn, turn and burn, turn and burn. I'm not listening. La 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 la. You don't get a voice. There was no Billy, and it was just go 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 go. So, um, and it's not even a matter of more exercise or less exercise. It's been about the same.
It's a matter of loving yourself.
Yeah, and because I walk more now than I did then 5 6, like I walk like purposely every day, and it's not enough.
I noticed that too. Like even like I showed you that picture of me like from like 10 years ago. I don't know if it was 10 years ago. It may have been even
Who
sooner than
was that guy?
and it was back before I had my awakening, and I had looked at that picture, and it was like it made me feel sad for that person in that picture because I could see that I didn't love myself. I had low self worth. I did power was did not have any personal power, and and I worked out. I worked out just as much as I worked out now. I didn't really overeat, and like you said, I was probably I mean kind of healthy now, but I was eating healthy back then. I wouldn't, I was never really that bad of a eater. But what changed was what changes was on the inside. And that's what changed, and that's
So
what kind of left it
so
that.
is that what you would say helped you take your power back?
Yeah, definitely is. We're doing the shadow work as well as connecting. I would say connect with the true self, the one within the love within, and that's who I really am. I mean, that's my body is just the vehicle for this love, a vehicle for loving awareness. That's this vehicle. This body is gonna die. It's gonna go into the ground and rot. But who I really am is that love was never born and is never gonna die. It's just been.
Mm.
So I think it's sometimes it's connecting with that deepest part of ourselves, and not rejecting our humanity, not rejecting anything. It's just being total allowance, but be with it on all levels.
So, folks, we've warned you in the past. Here it is again. Every episode is about the same damn thing. It is bringing loving awareness to yourself and being in total allowance of everything that is.
And
That's
really,
it. Good night.
if you want to break it down anymore, it's the question is always, who am I? Who am I?
Oh, now you're getting profound on my ass. Who am I? Take me there.
Who am I? Am I this body? Am I this? What am I? So you could almost, it's just different ways of looking at that and realizing that you're all of it, and that you're really the depth of what you really are is love, is that oneness, is that unity playing itself out as John with the J.
Or maybe you can share with the audience, because I always do, your name today, which was Bhakti Ray. What does that mean?
Ray. Bhakti means devotion and love, and that's sort of, I guess you could say, that's the path I'm on. Is I'm devoted to that love, the divine within myself.
Damn, dog. It sounds like you're getting gangster on the love scene, bro. You're like, I'm
Hey.
down with the LOVE, bro.
That's right.
Now that we found love, what are we gonna do? I started the episode off with Snap and I've got the power. Now we moved into Heavy D.
All right.
How will we
All right,
close today's episode?
I got a couple more. We'll
Oh,
go back.
good. Roll it out.
Um,
Praise good at
Careful
stopping
what
me
you
from my
say or
tangents.
what you reveal to other people.
Be careful.
And this goes a little bit with what I was we talked about earlier off before,
Yeah.
is when something comes good in your life, be careful who you share it with, because there's haters out there. You may have secret haters. You may have people, you maybe spark their ego, their jealousy, their trauma, and they may find ways to kind of try to manipulate. Or maybe you have a success and a win and you're proud of, you got this promotion or you got a raise, and they could just come back and be like, you know, what, I was making that like 8 years ago. Or they could see, you're happy in this relationship, and they could just energetically put it out there that's they don't like that, they're jealous, and
Mm.
who knows what they could do and try to.
Well, that sucks, man. So
Yeah,
when something good's going on in your life, you have to like keep it close to the pocket. You can't
I,
share
I,
it.
I would I would say just be cautious. I would say just be cautious of who you share your wins with, and not, definitely celebrate, but just be mindful of it. I think that kind of goes back to like maybe in the beginning of who drains your energy. Somebody who's gonna like, that person who drains your energy. If you come up with something good, like, hey, something good happened, are they gonna just trying to find a way to kind of squash that?
Hey, you know what's really good for that? Social media. Put it out there for 5,000 friends to celebrate. And the ones that don't, block and delete their ass.
Hmm.
Because if you're like, hey, I just got a promotion in my job, and someone decides to just jump in and go, well, la di da, Mr. Fuck You Raise guy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, do you have any space for that person in your life? See you later, Charlie. Bye bye. Like, I don't know Charlie, but who's Charlie? Um, so yeah, like what? Come on, man. Like maybe give that person. Look, everyone handles their social media different, but we're talking about empowerment here. Why do you want someone like that hanging around so they could step on your next party or parade, right? Maybe reach out to this person who we fictitiously called Charlie. I don't know who a Charlie is. Um, so please don't take offense if your name's Charlie. Anyway, and you're like, hey, Charlie, like, what's up with the comment? You know, and I've done this before, and that can go really well. It could also not go really well, but then again, that's you sharing your authentic feeling. You're not just like ignoring it and
Right.
bulldozing the past the fact that that really irked you and it
And it's
actually
power.
stripped you
That is
from your
that is
power.
empowering.
Yes, but you're like, hey, Charlie, why did you do, like, if you're feeling like you don't like my promotion, why didn't you just send me a message? Or like, let's talk about why this is making you mad. And then you make your decision from there. Cause Charlie could be like, dude, I'm just having a bad day. I lost my job. Like, sorry, man. Like, I'll delete the comment. And then maybe you still have a salvageable Facebook or
Right.
offline friendship, relationship, whatever. But if Charlie continues to be a dick, bye bye, Charlie. Like, what? But I think it's important to not ignore those. People say, oh, just ignore the haters, ignore the haters. I want them gone. I don't want to ignore that because it's going to happen again. And if in that instance, in that moment of glory, I shared with my Facebook community something wonderful and someone wants to hate on it, go off, man. No time for, again, we'll talk offline and we'll see why you feel like you had to come out guns ablazing on my victory. But if we can't work things out, then next.
Right.
Taking my power back, Ray, which fortunately that doesn't happen to me all too often. So, I mean, very, very, very rarely.
Yeah.
So, I love my
Same.
Facebook family. By the way, yo, thanks for all the support for over the years, folks. Shout out to the Facebook fam.
Same. And lastly, I just put recognize your strengths, recognize your value, what you bring to the table. Yeah, you.
Do I do I have some that you feel like maybe would help me feel empowered today?
Well, I think you're very great at like explaining things and getting to the truth, the kind of the kernel truth of expanding a topic of what we're talking about. You're very entertaining, very funny.
Thanks.
Great guy.
Appreciate it, Ray.
Honored to be your friend. in doing this.
Same. I just, I didn't want to make this episode personal, but I really, when we started today, you're like, we're gonna talk about taking your power back, and I'm like, can't, I can't, Ray. I can't teach people how to take their power back, or can I? Maybe since you've done a really good job of that in your life lately, you can help pull me out and help me take it back today. And we could show everyone that even just through one episode and one conversation, it's possible to start taking your power back.
Yeah.
And today, let it be known, let it be shared, let it be said that I'm going to use this episode as a platform to dive into a greater pool of pulling my power back and swimming through the seas of my strengths and excellence, and having a better relationship with Billy the Belly, and finding out what the fuck's wrong with Charlie, and and cultivating a more deeper and intimate relationship with my daughter and my partner, my two wizard cats, all of them, through allowing whatever to come up to be and to bring mindful, loving awareness to that, so that I can walk around empowered again. Because walking around without power is not fun, Ray. It's not fun. Because because inherently we're not born to be, nor are we meant to live lives of endless suffering and disempowerment. We are beings of light and of love and of all the other things, the shadows, the darkness. We're all of that, but we're not meant to dwell in a state of powerlessness and disempowerment. Right. We are meant to do great things as kings and queens together in community.
Expansion.
Expand together, not to step on one another, but help raise each other up and put our arms around one another and walk as equals and saying, you're a king, I'm a king, those are our queens. Let's continue to make this world and each other better and stronger and more enriched with love.
Love it, man.
Love. Boop, boop.
Hard
boop,
time.
boop. Ganesha or Ganesha?
Ganesha?
Ganesha. Potato.
It's all good.
Pull out a tomato card.
Card we're going to pull from the Ganesha deck.
Because an elephant is
one of my favorite forms of the divine.
Example of power, right?
Yes, he is an example. He removes obstacles and gives blessings. So this is a card for the collective.
That was my elephant. That was my elephant impersonation. It didn't go very well.
I got number 19.
Boop, boop.
Spiritual practice.
Ooh. What does it say?
Spiritual practice.
This is going to make a lot of sense, folks. So pay attention. This card is not just for Ray, not just for John with a J. This is for the collective. If you're watching or listening to this broadcast 2 days from now, 2 years from now, this card is for you as well. So please be open to receive this message that is forthcoming by Bhakti Ray.
There are many ways to maintain a spiritual connection through a committed practice. Ganesha is asking you to reflect on the benefits that may be gained by following a specific daily routine for your spirituality. This may include prayer, meditation, or an exercise schedule that connects the body, mind, and spirit, such as yoga or Tai Chi. Additionally, burning incense, which is often used to accompany prayers, invocations, and spells in many cultures. As the incense smoke rises up to the heavens, it is said to represent the request teachings, their destinations, and meeting with approval from the divine. Incense is also believed to have properties that dispel negative energy. Use incense or burn sage to create a special haven for yourself or to clear a sacred space in preparation for a special occasion or ceremony. The smell of incense can also bring about heightened spiritual awareness and realization for the user. There are many tools and techniques that you can use throughout your day to preserve or regain tranquility. Even simply taking a deep breath can restore a spiritual connection. Find what works for you and dedicate some time to your practice each day.
I was doing interpretive dance as you were
Okay,
reading,
yeah.
just a few times.
I had to
Um,
look up 'cause I didn't know maybe you were telling me like you weren't hearing me or something like
oh
that.
yeah, I saw you look up. I'm like, I hope I'm not funking up his flow. That's a perfect card, man. I'm feeling that on every level because like those are beautiful, loving practices that you can do. Even if you just pick one of all those things that Ray mentioned, Tai Chi is such a wonderful, gentle, beautiful practice and art and exercise and
Yeah.
it's a defensive um, martial art too, which not a lot of people know. They just think it's moving meditation, but it also is very much rooted in defensive.
Yeah, it
Um,
reminds me of when I met Krishna Das in Maui. I met him in one on one, and he told me he's like, you got to have a spiritual practice. He's like, you have to do a practice every day. He's like, whether you want to or not, doesn't matter if you're not feeling it. He's like, when you're not feeling it is usually when you really need to do it.
yeah,
His whole thing is chanting. So I mean, that's another thing, chanting or even doing mantra. My basic one is Reiki, doing Reiki for myself.
I think if we're really listening and we're really being honest with ourselves, the signs scream at us. The messengers arrive in the most loud of ways, and because I know me personally, very recently, um, just being out and about, you know, meet somebody or have a conversation or something. I'm like, oh, I do need to start like rolling out that yoga mat. I don't know anything about yoga, but I just know that the most wonderful people have showed up at the most awesome of times to just introduce that topic. And I had a dream not too long, a very, very beautiful yoga dream, um, which blew my mind. The people in it and just the scene that unfolded. And then I woke up, and then the next day I run into someone, and we're talking about yoga, and I'm like, and I thanked that person. I was like, thank you for bringing this up because I just had this beautiful dream and I really need to bring myself to the mat. And for me, I don't even know what that is yet, Ray. Maybe it's just stretching. Maybe because my body was so tortured for so many years that a loving spiritual practice that I can have is just starting to stretch on a mat. Maybe that
Yeah.
is yoga, maybe it isn't yoga, but the signs keep coming and the messengers keep arriving. And for me to keep fighting it and not every day having a spiritual practice is not self-loving. It's actually just the opposite. It's me saying, no, I'm not listening to the messages that I'm actually pulling in. Myself is pulling these people toward me. It's the projector in my mind, reeling these images of these beautiful dreams, and yet I'm not taking any action on them. Why,
Mm-hmm.
John? Why? you know it will empower you if what I'm hearing from
You will
Ray.
when you're ready.
Yeah,
Well, when you're ready, you will.
I have to. I'm rolling the mat out as soon as this broadcast is over. I'm rolling it out. I'm going to keep it out.
I mean, union. I mean, yoga just means union. So if you're doing stretching, that's still union between the body and the mind. So I don't think it has to be a technique kind of thing and do these poses right and stuff.
And you're just and you're I think a lot of us don't do this. I know those of us that are very busy don't do this. You're committing to making time to give yourself and nobody else or nothing else time. So you're saying it really doesn't matter what it is. The practice is the practice. If it's stretching on a mat, if it's going for a walk, I think what you said is like you have to have a spiritual practice. I really think, I think you do. You don't have to put the word spiritual on. You can if that's uncomfortable for you, or that doesn't vibe with you, call it a loving practice. You need to have a loving practice in your life, and that means 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, but every day, saying no work, no this, no obligation or pressures, but just Ray time, just John time.
You know what also helps too is having, I hate to say use the word altar, but you could have, maybe a shelf where you put pictures of people that you love, people that you like, that open your heart. It could be your family, it could be friends, it could be pets, it could be Christ, it could be whoever, whatever. And
Yeah.
you look at that, and it opens your heart. And even just doing that, that is right there as a practice.
Yeah, I like the altar practice. I have probably about 7 or 8 altars around the house. They're like just little pockets. What's that?
You have an altar in every room.
I really do, man. I have like a little space or on a bookshelf or something where I'll either have a few pictures, and sometimes there's smudge involved, or there's like some crystals, but or specific seeds, even like
Mhm.
that I'm charging before I plant them, or sometimes it's a business card of someone, or maybe my own business card because I need to, I'm trying to empower myself or put focus into manifesting something for me. Sometimes it's coins or money, um, but flowers, like whatever I feel called that would adorn this particular sliver of a space in my home. And I don't have a problem with the word altar, um, but yeah, I think they're very empowered. We're on the subject of empowerment. For me, it feels good. Those little, and when I adjust them, and when maybe I add to them or take things away, whatever, and it's not always for me. Sometimes it's for other people. It's for my brother or for my daughter, and because I want to enrich their lives in any way that I can from a distance, and that could be adorning their pictures or things that remind me of them, just sending them love or distance Reiki, if you will, from afar. It's all energy and it's all love, man. And if it feels good, it probably is good.
I like it, man. I like it.
That's all I got to say about that. So,
Well,
you got anything else, Ray?
I'm good. I think it's time to wrap it up.
Thank you, Bhakti Ray, for introducing yet another subject that is going to profoundly impact my life and hopefully some of you out there listening. Take your power back. Ray came up with a lot of ways, and I'm very grateful because I'm instantly going to plug them into my life and take some inspired action to take some of this power back. It's going to be uncomfortable sometimes, but I'm going to have those conversations. I'm going to say no. I'm going to get on that yoga mat, and if I just do that, I think that's the beginning of me pulling some power back. Ray, would you agree?
It doesn't always have to be something big,
Okay.
monumental. Sometimes it's making that one little small change.
Mini
All right.
steps. Got it. And I'll report back next week with John with a J taking his power back and how that went, how I'm feeling. And maybe I'll even break Billy out and let you guys see. No, there'll be no Billy time. No Billy on this break. It won't fit on the screen. No, that wasn't nice. We'll get there.
Watch your words.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Baby steps. All right, folks. So on the YouTube, on the Spotify, wherever you want to hit us up, hit us up. We're in over 30 countries now. We have booked our first official guest that will be appearing sometime around Christmas. That episode will be out. And we're pretty
Christmas
stoked.
special.
Yes, our Bodhi Bros Christmas special. That's going to be awesome, folks. She's amazing. She's very inspiring. She's great, and I think you all will enjoy her as much as we do. And we look forward to that collaboration. And we'll drop that surprise in the coming probably week. Oh my gosh, it's sneaking up on us, right? And love you all. Thank you for the support, the sharing, the comments, the ideas, the everything. And we'll see you next week on the Bodhi Bros. And we are